So there is a long way before the new land acquisition law will become the new law of the country. But we'll stay with the real estate sector. And let me now bring on board Jeh Wadia, Managing Director of Bombay Realty. He joins us from Mumbai. Jeh, good morning. Thank you for joining us. The focus of the group clearly is now increasing more towards real estate or the real estate business. Can you take us through the performance of the real estate division of your company and how exactly this year has been for your business?
Well, we launched two towers, one office tower of 8 stories and one residential tower of 40 stories about 5 years ago, which was delivered in terms of last year. And subsequently, we have launched 2 new towers, basically residential towers in Dadar, each of them approximately 85 stories last October. And cumulative till date, we've had a very interesting response. Ultimately, our job is to give a better life to our customers. Our objective is to give in terms of, the best homes, but more importantly, give a mixed-use development experience. And that's something which lacks in the city. Infrastructure is the greatest issue we have in the city, specifically in terms of do with time vis-a-vis in terms of the traffic and the amount of time you spend in traffic. So ultimately, Bombay Realty's objective is to create mixed-use developments where you have the ability to live, work and play all in one area. We've progressed in focusing on delivering that experience, through in terms of a conceptual, in terms of walkthrough, and ultimately, a real mixed-use development will only be, the real effects will only be felt once ultimately it's delivered. Today, unfortunately, people have to conceptualize what a mixed-use development is because they don't exist in the city of Bombay.
Jeh, hi, morning. A few months earlier, there was an issue where you lost the case and had to give part of land to government agencies. Is that issue now over?
The land size in Dadar is 45 acres. The land size in Worli is 25 acres. The issue in terms of was essentially to do with when we're supposed to hand over the 1/3 portion of the unbuilt up area as per DCR 58(1) and 2. Which essentially is the textile in terms of policy, textile mill in terms of policy. Our interpretation of the law was very simple, that we have to hand over in terms of, the obligation of 1/3 and 1/3 in terms of, MADA and BMC respectively at a certain time, which essentially is after we've crossed our in terms of vanilla FSI, plus we've used 30% of our 1/3 share. And therefore, in terms of we would not be eligible to hand over for another 2 years or so based on the existing run rate of the usage of FSI. The interpretation in terms of the opposition took was that no, we have to hand over in terms of once we have submitted our plans for approval. So the dispute was over. We said it's actually when we've generated built up area, i.e. constructed built up area, and their view was in terms of no, it's when you submit your plans. We went to the Supreme Court and unfortunately in terms of we lost on this particular point, and as a result we're gearing up to hand over in terms of the share of 1/3 to MCGM and MADA in terms of respectively by the 6-month in terms of timeline which we've been given. This in no way hampers or in terms of changes any of our commitments, may they be commercial, may they be technically, or in terms of may they be from a design perspective. We already took this handover commitment into consideration while concluding in terms of the entire design of the master plan and financially in terms of concluding the financials of the project.
Jeh, so what is the current land bank the company is sitting on and what is the plan for developing the same?
Well, Bombay Dyeing at the moment has, as I said, in terms of 45 and 25 acres in the city of, in the island city of Bombay. And at the moment, our focus is to develop these 2 in terms of independent land parcels into mixed-use developments. A mixed-use development in terms of, from our perspective, is has to have residences, offices, 5-star hotel, a mall, a high street, a school and or a hospital with large open spaces. So essentially we're doing 2 mixed-use developments. There are only 3 differences between the mixed-use developments. One, geographical location, Worli, west coast of Bombay, island city of Bombay, and the other, the east coast of the island city of Bombay. 2 is the target audience. The target audience for the Worli project, as known as WIC, is essentially focused on what I call the phantom, Rolls-Royce phantom type of in terms of buyer. And the target audience in terms of for the other is the Mercedes in terms of type of buyer. The third in terms of differentiator between the 2 mixed-use developments essentially is the exposure to product mix. So in Dadar, we're looking at in terms of more residences, and in Worli, we're looking at less residences. In Dadar, we're looking at less offices, and in Worli, we're looking at more offices. In Dadar, we're looking at a 5-star hotel, and in Worli, we're looking at a 7-star hotel. So ultimately, these are the three differentiators of both the mixed-use developments, and that's ultimately what Bombay Realty is focusing on primarily. We are also looking and evaluating in terms of other land parcels that the family and the group has, and ultimately on an arm's length basis, Bombay Realty will participate in potentially looking at joint developments of these group and family land parcels.
So, Jeh, how will investors of Bombay Dyeing benefit from all the land bank development? Any plans to spin it off into a separate listed entity?
We have no plans at the moment. Ultimately, the benefit goes to the shareholder. My job essentially as the managing director of Bombay Dyeing is to ensure that I consistently create shareholder wealth. And ultimately, Bombay Realty is a division of Bombay Dyeing, and therefore it's a listed company, and the fruits of basically in terms of the development will be in terms of shared with the shareholders of the company.
So, Jeh, what is the current debt on the books of Bombay Realty?
The debt at the moment is about 3-to-1, and we're looking at reducing this in terms of over the next 3 to 4 years, and we're aiming at being a debt-free company within the next 4 to 5 years.
Right, Jeh, let's talk about a business which is very close to your heart, a business which you started, the aviation business or the aircraft business. Now, if I look at how the dynamics of the industry have changed, everybody started as a small player, but some of your peers, especially Indigo, and to some extent, I would say, Jet Airways, they've expanded their fleet size quite aggressively in the last few years. But you're pretty much maintaining a small fleet size. Why is that?
Well, we designed in terms of the capacity induction on a conservative, once again, a J curve, and this was by design. This was not in terms of by anything other than strategic intent. Our objective in terms of was to build a sustainable, profitable airline. Our objective was to create a profitable in terms of growth story. We've done that in terms of very successfully. There was no intention to try and grab first mover advantage. There was no intention to basically bring in a large number of aircraft initially, because we always said from 2005 onwards, the Indian aviation market needs time to mature. Policies need to improve. Taxes need to improve. Infrastructure needs to improve. The consumer in terms of needs to get more mature. And ultimately, therefore, we said between the years 2005, which was our launch year, and in terms of 2014-15, let's be very in terms of conservative in the induction of aircraft. And subsequently, in terms of when the markets improve, maturity, consolidation, improvement of infrastructure, then let's basically look at growth in terms of exponentially. As a result, in terms of a year and a half ago, we basically concluded a further order of 72 aircraft, which takes the total order book of Go to 92 firm Airbus A320. 20 of these will be delivered in terms of till the year 2014, and the balance 72, which is the new aircraft, which essentially gives a 15% improvement in direct operating cost. These aircraft were the launch customer for, and they will be starting to get delivered towards the end of 2015, early 2016. Using the advantage of cost, we intend to grow very exponentially. And at this time, we would have seen a more mature in terms of consumer, we would have seen a more in terms of mature cost of supply. And obviously, there would be in terms of further consolidation in the industry. So our strategy essentially in terms of was to have in terms of a lower induction rate between the year 2005 and 2014-15, and thereafter in terms of grow very exponentially. Hence, 92 Airbus on order as of date, out of which we've only taken delivery of 13 by design.
Right, Jeh. So any company that has approached you for investing in your airline business?
No, we have not specifically spoken to anyone. We basically have various proposals which we vet all the time in terms of, but ultimately there's nothing in terms of, okay, that we are looking at specifically as of date. We would look at in terms of, strategic value. And we're not in any hurry to do so. Ultimately, in terms of we look at, each of the proposals we receive on a case-to-case basis.
All right, Jay, really appreciate your time. Thank you for your insights. That was the Managing Director of Bombay Realty in an exclusive chat with ET Now, where he talked about his real estate business and he's indicated that how the airline business is moving. Bombay dying as a stock. Of late, real estate stocks have made a comeback, and the reason why Bombay dying also is appreciated in last 4 or 5 days is not because of the real estate, not because of the textile business, but the fact that they own a large land parcel in Mumbai. Century Textiles also, well, they are now developing a large land parcel right outside the office, which is in Low Parade. And Century Textiles on your screen.